Hello everyone, my name is Faye, and in this particular video, we're gonna exercise a little bit about struct, array, and user-defined types. Okay, so first question, distance of 2 points. Let me explain to you what this question wants you to do. It wants you to calculate the distance between 2 points, and this is your formula. A is the x point, x, y for the coordinates for the first. AB is a coordinate for the first point, and CD is the coordinate for the second point. And this is your formula to calculate the distance. You have function distance, and you can use root. Okay, so and for some information on your code, this will be your code. Let me become it. Okay, so this is your code like usual. And as you can see, my import here has second import is math. This is how you do it in Golang. If you want to do square root, this is your code. Okay, so in this exercise, we need to implement our user-defined struct or user-defined data types. So this is what you do. You have point, which has two fields, x and y. That is your coordinates. So my distance is just using a formula, as simple as using a formula. I'm using pow for make it power of 2 here. If I want power of 3, I change this to 3, I change this to 4. That's what I do. But in this formula, we use power of 2. And as you can see, I use math square, SQRT, for square root, and that will square root the value inside of it. So that is for formula of a distance. And as you can see, I have two parameters that has a point data type. So if I want to access it, I use dots. Okay, so p1.x like that. So in my main, I have two variables point. So when I call it p1 and p2. I didn't need to call 4 of the inputs from user like that. That is the code for first question. And if we go to the second question about rectangle, let me explain to you what this wants to do. So as simple as this code wants you to calculate the area perimeter and printing all the information at the end of the program. So, but using data struct, using structure, this is what will you get. You have a rectangle struct that has length, width, color property, and property is a struct of geometry. So geometry is a other struct that has two fields, area and perimeter. So struct inside another struct, and this is how you make the struct. I think the most important thing is not the algorithm, but how you define the data types. Okay, so this is what you do for your struct. You have a geometry struct, area, integer, perimeter, and you have your rectangle struct, which has a property with geometry data types. And to access your data, if you want to get input, this is user input, scan rectangle length, because you have a rect here with a in-out perimeter. So if you want to do input, you just input length, width, and color. So when you want to calculate it, what you do, because what we want to access is a area and perimeter, what we do is using dot variable and dot another variable. So I have a rectangle variable here, and it has a property field, property that has a geometry data type. So if I want to access the area on geometry, what I do is rect.property.area assign with rect length times rect width, a simple formula for rectangle area. So, and this is how you do the printout in a main. Okay, this is how you access the parameter. Line 41 and 42 is accessing a geometry struct inside rectangle struct. This is how you do it. Okay, so that's a great concept for you to understand that it can be struct inside another struct like that. Okay, so this is a palindrome, which is we're gonna dive after we look at a football competition. Okay, but let's dive to palindrome later. Okay, football competition. So for football competition, this is using array. Okay, so what this question wants you to do, let me explain to you that you have a three team, and you wants to input the number of win for every team, and at the end of the day you want to calculate the average of winning games for each team. So if you have three teams, you want to make the total amount of wins for every teams, and after that you want to calculate the average by divided by 3, like that. Okay, so I have my constant number of teams, and I have my array declaration, array wins, number of teams. Okay, so I have array wins, which is I have 3 teams. So what I do will be like this. Okay, this is how we input using loops inside a win. So it will start from 0 to smaller than n, which is 2. Why is it 2? Because we will input it as number of teams. Oh, sorry, smaller than 3, but it will input into up to 2 because 3 2 is still smaller than 3, but if you have iteration on 3, it's already equal, so it falls, it doesn't go inside the loops. Okay, so after that, what we do is to do the average, counting the average, and this is your code for you get the total amount of sum. Sum is a temporary variable to count the total of all win from each team, and result is to divide it by number of team, like that. So this is your main, this is your main. As usual, we only do inputs. In this particular main, we don't even make a input. Okay, because input is handled by input data wins. Okay, so but maybe for the logic you guys understand it, but for the important things about array is declaration. You still have a wins, which is array of wins. So what you do it in your main, but your main declaration is on the top of all program, like this. Number of teams is a constant, and you have array wins, which is array of integer, like that. Okay, so this is how you do the football competition. And after that, if we go to the bank customer, this is a little bit complex. It has 6 requests, but this is just as a simple array. Let me explain to you what it wants to do. You needs to make an array with the capacity 2022 accounts. Okay, so a customer have a ID, customer name, bank name, and account number. That what a customer has. So in this code, you need to create a customer struct, and you will needs to make array of customer to store all the data. So that's what the question wants. So like this. This is the struct, and you have array customer, which has 2022 capacity, and it will have customer data types inside of all. So if you want to input the data, this is what you do. Okay, because the data inside every array, so you need to access the array first, like our course dot the field name. Okay, so if you want customer ID, you do scan customer name, bank name, and after that account number. So if you want to print, it's just the same like this, but what you do instead of fmt scan, what you do is fmt printlen, like that. Okay, so this question is just wants you to input an array of customer and output it the information like that. Okay, so but it can be modified. Probably if you have example, if you want to, how do I say this? If you want to print I think the question have this display account information on certain bank. Okay. Okay, in bank Mandarin. So if data e equal dot bank name equals to Mandiri like this, then you do the printout. Okay, so you modify the printout. So this code will printing every customer that inside Mandiri Bank. That's what you do if you want to make the code. So that is for our exercise, but as you can remember, we're gonna jump to the last problem, which is palindrome, that unique. So I want to give you this is about the array. So let me explain to you what this problem wants us to do. We need to make array with capacity of 256, but to test this, we didn't need to make 256. In my code, I made only 4, so we can test our palindrome and every function that it needs to do. So write a procedure to fill the array, and after that, write a procedure to reverse the array. Write a function to check whether array is palindrome or not. So this is a palindrome array, 10, 20, 30, 20, 10. If you read it from the backwards, it will be still saying it. It's 10, 20, 30, 20, 10. So this is about palindrome. As usual, this is, and we go jump to main next, the last time. So for input array, this is as simple as I want to do. This is my input array, and this is my print array. Okay, this is our array. So this is how you print your array. But as you can see, the programs wants us to make a function or procedure to reverse array. As you can see here, it has an a rnum in out parameters to reverse the array. And this is how you reverse the array. I have swap, so I have two variables is I here for iteration and n from the last index. First index, last index. So the code will be from the so from the first index, last index, the last index will be -1 every iteration, and it will be +1 for the I variable for the first index. If it's overlapping, then the code stopped. Okay, so this is how you do the code to reverse an array. Okay, so and palindrome, I have two palindrome function. First is this palindrome, which is what I do is I compare the first index and the last index, same as before. The first index will be +1 every iteration, and the last index will be -1 for every iteration. And when it's overlapping, then it's true because I have another condition. If the first index and the last index for each iteration is not the same number, then it's not a palindrome, okay? So that's how I do my first palindrome, but for my alternative palindrome checker is palindrome alternative. What I do is I reverse the array. I have a temporary array. I store my original array. After that, I do uh reverse to temporary array, and after that I compare it. If the first array is the same to the reverse array, what I do is returning true. That's what I do. So let's check this code so you can understand the go run array functions. So if I have array, because I give it 4 here, okay. So in the main, as usual, is just using the procedure and function and printing the output. So that's calling the input array. Okay, so if I want to have a for array, I have one array with 4 elements inside it. What I do is like this. Okay, so my array is 1, 2, 3, 4. After I reverse, because I call it on line 14, my array become 4, 3, 2, 1. array isn't palindrome because the first palindrome function, what it does, it's comparing its index from start to end, and after that, the second option is reverse the array, and if the first array, original array, is same to the second array, then it is a palindrome. Let's say if we make a palindrome array 1, 2, 2, 1, which is a palindrome, it will say array is palindrome with with these two alternative palindrome checker array. Okay, so I hope you understand about today exercise, and see you next time.